All right. Well, our next question, Jim, sent into CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Mike in Florida. When Nikita Koloff returned to the NWA in 1988 with a full set of hair, his run was awful.
A full set of hair?
That's what it says here, a full set of hair. His run was awful. Why? Do you think it was the hair? Why did he grow his hair? And if he was told to grow his hair, I hope that person was fired. Your thoughts?
My first year in the business, I can't remember. It was Frank Morrell or somebody was giving me some advice about something, and Dundee came around the corner and said, "Fuck Frank, don't smarten him up. You'll kill his gimmick." And I think the problem was Nikita got smart. He had taken time off there because I can't remember the timeline of the whole thing, but he had gotten married, but his wife was sick and she was a young person, and he had taken some time out of the business, and then I think he came back, and there was a period of time where he was hurt for a little while also, so I can't remember which coming and going. But when they brought Nikita into the Carolinas, he became Nikita Koloff. He was that fucking monster from Minnesota, but he suddenly became, in his mind, a fucking Russian. He didn't speak, even on the plane, even on Crockett's plane. When just the boys were on the plane, he used the accent to the point where Arn one night said, "Cue ball, it's just us boys. We know you're Scotty Simpson from Minnesota," right?
He just did an interview where he said the entire time he was out in Los Angeles auditioning for Rocky IV, he kept the accent going. No one on the set, Stallone, no one heard his real voice.
But he did that. He was 300 and something pounds. He was jacked up. All he did when he first and Cat Collins was one of his roommates. I think Don Kernodle was another. But anyway, he moved to Charlotte. He's this bald-headed, supposedly Russian, 300 and something pound guy that's never been in the fucking business before, barely knows how to fucking work, but they're smashing him over. He didn't even cash his checks for almost a year when he first came in, because he was used to just, okay, I'm going to train, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to eat clean, I'm going to go wrestle, right? I'm going to make money. He was getting a draw for his road expenses, wouldn't cash his fucking checks. They had to call him from the office and say, "Fuck, you got fucking $100,000 worth of fucking checks. Cash them. We're going to cancel them."
See, I got to stop you there. I had a listener of the Superpodcast get in touch with me a while back, and we read the letter on the air. His mom worked at the bank, and she said Nikita went in there to open up a checking account, and it was, "It's so bad." Like the whole time it was the voice of the bank too.
Yes, everywhere. And they drew nothing but money with him. And go back and look, he's the shits. He's a classic muscle guy. And I'm not knocking him because it's, fuck, he'd never done it before, right? But they had that run, that hot run where he looked like Nikita and was Nikita, and then all of a sudden, when he started cashing the checks, then I think maybe it's when he met his wife. I don't know. But then he all of a sudden bought a new wardrobe, and he was wearing suits and stylish jackets, and fucking Arn renamed him GQ Ball because he looked like he stepped off the fucking cover of GQ magazine. And we're like, what the fuck? He's spending money. And he, as he got to be a better worker and got smart, and then he got off the sauce for a while, probably about, when his wife was ill or whatever, but things changed in his life. He started learning to work. He started learning the business was a work. He started enjoying making the money, and he lost being Nikita Koloff. And for a couple of years, he was Nikita, but it wasn't the presence of this fucking guy that you figured was going to fucking go off and murder you at any point. And the real Russian, I don't know. We smartened him up and killed his gimmick.
And he was half the size too. I mean, that was.
And then he lost the size, and then and it's much healthier for him not to be doing all that stuff and to be that size. But he was first couple of years he was ready to snap. Fuck, I was hosting an interview they were doing one time, the Russians, and Nikita was going to talk last, and they're overtime, and the guy's screaming in my fucking IFB in my ear, pitch to break, or pitch to the ring, or pitch wherever we're pitching, right? And Nikita takes a dramatic pause, which This is the chance. I didn't know he was done yet because he had that fucking accent. I couldn't understand half what the fuck he was saying anyway. And I go, let's go to the ring. And he turned and looked at me, and he came up in the locker room. I should have knocked you out. I'm like, because I pitched to the fucking ring? I wasn't finished. He was, I don't want to say the words roid rage, but he was not happy. It wasn't a pleased man. But he was, yes. But it made Nikita Koloff that's the big money they drew with him, was the first fucking, 3 years. Yeah. I mean, my God, and here's the thing about Dusty, now that I'm thinking about it. Dusty takes Nikita Koloff and makes him a monster fucking Russian heel and puts him against Ric Flair in Charlotte in 1985, and they draw almost 30,000 people to the fucking Memorial Stadium. Nikita Koloff hadn't been in the business a fucking year yet. And then a year later, he makes Big Bubba Rogers a monster heel and fucking goes around the country with Bubba, who hadn't fucking been in the business 8 months at that point, or 10 months then, and with in Pittsburgh, I think he had been in the business 10 months, and they sold out to Pittsburgh Civic Arena, 16,600 people. Dusty could build fucking monster heels to go up against a babyface they cared about with a story behind it. But those monster heels had to be special because they had to really believe they were who they were. Nikita did. And Bubba, once we told him who he was, he became that person instantly. He bought it hook, line, and sinker, and he became that person, and he was selling out when he was a rookie.
Problem is, Dusty couldn't make any monster baby faces after a while.
Well, it's harder to make a monster baby face.
Flair. I mean, that was the thing. If you have all these monster heels, you turn Flair babyface. The fans weren't going to boo him anyway. But Flair didn't want to be heel. Or didn't want to be babyface, I should say.
Yeah, Flair avoided that like fucking AIDS-infected hypodermic needles.